Hey everyone, Adrian McDonald here. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and this is my very first video on here. Listen, this has been a process in the making for like a whole year now, maybe from 2018. I couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't get it started. Mainly because I'm an introvert and I like being behind the camera. So, for my first video, I had no idea what I was going to talk about, but somehow during the recording session, the first minute of recording the intro, I figured it out. Listen to this. Tell me if it sounds cool. From inspiration to creation, the art of storytelling. All right, it doesn't sound that cool. It sounds like an infomercial. But today's video will be based on inspiration and creation. What we're going to do is just look at the two separately, inspiration, and then we look at creation. Now, I'm going to start off with a story. I love telling stories. In the summer of 2018, I was driving home to Westmoreland, where I'm originally from, to look for my mom. And on the highway, off in some fields, there were lots of tires. I think they were burning them. I think that's illegal too. Anyways, let me not go off on a tangent. So I glanced, continued driving. About a minute into driving, the thought revisited me in the form of a little boy who was strapped from neck all the way down to his feet with the tires on him. And this little boy was running towards me, but as soon as he got close enough, about 10, 15 feet off, he stopped. And he fell, and the thought dissipated. What was compelling about that idea? The fact that I not only saw this thought or this idea, it operated completely independent of me, but it also perceived me. And it's one of those moments that you go, aha, like, To be perceived by inspiration as opposed to continuously perceiving inspiration changes something in you, and you start to understand that inspiration is not just this random, beautiful, chaotic aberration of energy. It is consciousness. We are having a relationship, a dialogue with consciousness, and it is when we become aligned through peace of mind, through being present, through being here, that it comes. Because when I'm driving, I don't have all these random thoughts. I'm often absent-minded. I'm focusing on the road, but that's all I'm doing. I'm just looking ahead and I'm just free. And that's when it comes a lot of the times. And I started looking back at all the great ideas I've had. And I went, oh, that's when that came. That's when that came. That's when. And I saw a pattern. Now, seeing that little boy with the tires on him, then he was also tired. It gave me an aha moment. Because tired was being played on with him being tired. And I was like, that's pretty clever. I never shot that idea because I felt it was more than an idea. It was an understanding. It was an agreement that this is how I come to you. This is what I am. This is how you're inspired. And this is just a message from me to you. I felt that's what was communicated to me through inspiration. And it's one of my favorite ideas to date. And I'm sharing that because somebody's probably going to shoot it now. But It's not for me, and that's one of the things that I hold onto strongly. That it's for all of us. It is a collective chorus. It is a collective visit. But some of us are just so much out of alignment with the path that inspiration needs to take to visit us that it's harder for some of us to get inspired. Now, there's another story that I want to share. 2018, I was on my way from Miami International, on my way to visit a friend. Lana Del Rey's Gods and Monsters started playing on the radio. So I wasn't aware, naturally, I was just like, for me, driving, being in anything that's moving gives me a moment not to think. And sometimes not thinking is such a beautiful thing because you just move from point A to point B and you're like, when did I get here? So that's what was happening. And all of a sudden, her song just with that beautiful hum that she has. And I saw a woman laying in a lake, and she started to rise from the lake. But as she was rising, I realized that she was covered in a fabric that was made of the universe, but the water was also a reflection of the universe, but more specifically the sky. And I thought, Jesus, that's beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen imaginatively. And it just that's all it was. It was just a rising, and then it just disappeared. And I was like, yo. Like sometimes I get ideas and it's like an overwhelming feeling. And it also happens for me that whenever I get an idea and I execute it in real life and it's done exactly how I saw it here, I get, some of my clients can tell you, I go crazy. I'm like, it's like good food. I went ahead and I shot it, and it came out exactly how I saw it. And these are some of the ideas that I cannot take credit for. They are not mine. I'm not doing it. It comes to me, and I believe that that is the state of that is the case rather for many people who get these phenomenal ideas, whether they're musicians or engineers or anyone in any creative field. You feel like it comes to you. It's like a friend, and that friend comes with a wealth of knowledge that's beyond your scope of understanding, and you become so overwhelmed with it that all you want to do is to express it. So then it comes to this place that you feel like all you're doing is transponding consciousness, and at the end of it, you feel so fulfilled. Whenever you get an idea, you have to allow it to come to term, because you can have such a thing as premature delivery, and you don't want to get your ideas out too fast. How do I know when my ideas are ready to be delivered? I feel it. It's not something that I see. I see it, yes, but it's confirmed with how I feel about it. So when you have an idea, you want to make sure that you give birth to it in a reasonable time frame. Don't wait too long. Don't go too fast, because you don't want it to be underdeveloped or overdeveloped. And I find that sometimes we can overdevelop an idea by applying too much of ourselves to it, by putting just too much logic into it. And what I use as my parameter, one thing, it's just my feelings. How do I feel about this? That's what I ask myself every single time. How do I feel about this photo that I've created? And if it doesn't move me, then I know for a fact it may not move anyone else. Now, let's jump on over to creation. We just spoke about inspiration, but how do we create? How do we take this data, develop it, and express it so that it becomes useful information so it can inspire the masses? Here's a scenario for you. I think it was in 2015 I shot this scene that was based on the renaissance of desensitization, and it speaks about how technology and just social media has completely overrun our lives, and how there are so many individuals doing it for the likes, cloud chasing, that they're losing their humanity. So when I was on set, I started by shooting with an 85 millimeter, and for the life of me, I couldn't get the shot. It just felt so impersonal. The background was too compressed. It just wasn't pulling me in. So I switched from the 85 to a 35, got closer. This time it felt a little bit better, and I was there, but it still wasn't coming out how I wanted it to. And I was like, something is wrong. So I asked myself, in very simple terms, I just went like, please help me, please. And then boom, the idea came back in all its glory. And I realized that the way the idea presented itself to me was not through a 35 millimeter lens, not through an 85, but through a 16 from a lower angle. So I was like, oh, snap. That's it. The imagination is volatile. Sometimes it goes by so fast and you can't really hold on to it. It's like a fleeting thought. But if you can hold it just enough, even for a split second, to observe it and see the angle, then you're able to take that angle, transpose it into, I don't know if transpose is even a word, but into real life. And when you create it exactly as it came to you, it does something for you, and it does something for the world. It changes lives. Do not alter it. Do not try to make it. In other words, do not try to apply too much logical reasoning to these ideas. Of course, you have to take certain precepts and concepts into mind. But I find that once we start to put too much of our own process into these ideas, it becomes something else. So what I did on that shoot was I got down on my, like Jamaicans say, belly. And I went 3 shots. And that was it. I was a part of the scene, and if I was a part of the scene, that means the viewers would also be a part of the scene, because I didn't just see it, I felt it. And that is my indicator of a good photo. I do not look how pretty it is. I ask myself, how does this make me feel? And if it doesn't elicit any feelings whatsoever, I know I've failed. When I used that 16mm lens, it brought me into the scene closer, but most importantly, what inspiration showed me was that it brought me down on the level of the pain. Standing up shooting down made me imposing. Also, it caused the viewers, the observers, to also be perceiving the photo from that perspective, and it creates too much power and authority for the viewer. The viewer needed to be taken down a couple notches, down to the level of the pain, so that in some capacity they may be able to relate to the pain. So as it regards to inspiration and creation, that's my simple process. I allow it to come to me with a peace of mind. And for another video, I'm going to look into how I go about attaining that stillness, that presence, that peace of mind that allows it to come to me continuously. But that's it for me. Inspiration is a dialogue with consciousness. It is essentially watching consciousness.
Look for the house with the closed doors. It is a place where few have been. Knock gently, and it will present itself to you. Inspiration. It is a dialogue with energy, consciousness, God. It is the falling of a single raindrop into the vast ocean. It is everything, and yet nothing. Separate, but not separate. Inspiration is always with you, but if you are finding it difficult, it is you who is not with it. Turn your face to the sun, and shadows will fall behind you. Therefore, you can't seek that which is not lost. It only requires acceptance.
Alright guys, so that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for coming over. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share. Feel free to sound off in the comments. Let me know what's your process like, how you get inspired, how you go about creating. Is it anything like my process? And until next week, take care.